Well, thank you, Chris, for taking time to talk to us today. First of all, how has your first week back in the organization been?
Yeah, it's been awesome. Very busy, meeting a lot of new people, figuring out the way things have been done here for the last little bit. Figuring out what Rick's done, like what Rick Lawlersher's been doing here. He's been a really good mentor, sort of helped me sort of get my feet wet and take things over. So it's been a very fun week.
How's it been getting adjusted to that president and CEO title?
Yeah, it's interesting because it's a smaller staff than I had at a couple of schools I worked with. So in that way, it's comfortable because I'm getting to know people and sort of that's what I've done in the school settings. As far as the business at hand, I think there's different things to learn and different things to do, but it's very, very similar to the school structures that I've had where, there's different departments doing different things and you have to talk about what their work is and how they do their work and how they like to do it best and get a sense for that and get a sense for what people are really passionate about and how they like to conduct themselves. And that's been, for the first 5 days, that's pretty much what I'm doing. It's just talking to people and getting to know them.
There was a lot of speculation about this position before it was announced, but your name kind of came out of left field for some people. I guess maybe let Elks fans a little bit behind the curtain and know how this came to be for you.
Yeah, it's funny. I was very, very happy at the University of Alberta. I had, it's kind of my dream job is being a coach of a university program. We built it up. We had a couple of very, very successful years. Our recruiting was going well. The program we figured out how to get funding for the program and how to be well financed. And I wasn't looking to change anything. And Rick Lawlersher gave me a call and asked me to come in and talk to him. I didn't know what the conversation was going to be about at the time. I thought it might be about our 50-50 money or something along those lines. I thought he might be cutting that, but I went in to talk to him, and that wasn't what it was at all. I thought he started asking me about leadership and what I thought it should look like, and guys that I'd played with and guys that I knew that were good leaders and what characteristics they had. And then he started asking me about the presidency, and he was like, so he asked me whether I'd be interested, and I was quite surprised when he asked me that. I was, quite honored, and well, Rick, if you think that's a good idea, I would absolutely love to do it. And here's some things that I think should happen right away, and here's what I think the place has been missing, and here's some things around consistency and just the way you do business that I think could really help. And he was like, we'd really love you to throw your hat in the ring to see if you'd be interested in this job. And from there, it went on to many, many interviews with different people, and Deb and Larry, and talking to them about what my vision would be for this place and what I thought was lacking and what I thought it could be, and getting to know them. And for me, leaving U of A was a big step. So being confident with them and what they wanted to accomplish here, and the kind of community-based club, even though it's a privately owned club now, the degree to which they wanted integrated into the community was very, very refreshing and good for me to hear, and it was one of the reasons that I decided to come here. So yeah, the process lasted quite a few weeks, and there were a lot of interviews and all that sort of stuff, but it was like, in the end, it was their vision and their commitment to the community here that got me here.
How intense was that preparation like? Because you went from somebody who wasn't planning to interview for this to somebody who eventually ended up getting the job. So I imagine there was a decent amount of work that went into discussing your plan and kind of being able to present that.
Yeah, you know what? I had to present a 100-day plan, and I had to present, my business plan for the way it was going to look, and talk about what the transition plan would be here if I came in, and what I thought of the current staff, and what I thought about the current football operations, and what I thought about the community, the involvement of the community with the club, and all those different things. So it was a lot of work to do, but for me, it was a lot of stuff that I've been thinking about for years, and a lot of things that I had strong opinions about for years. So it was just a matter of putting them into a presentation, and then one thing I'm decent at is when I go to talk about something, if I'm passionate about it, I can really articulate what I want to have happen, right? And when we went into those meetings, I think it became very clear to them how personal it was to me where this place was and where I think it should be, and what the work that it was going to take to get it from where it is right now to where I think it could be. And I think for them that was important.
You talk about your passion. I mean, you spent 14 seasons here as a player, and then you made your home, Edmonton, your home after your playing days. I guess, can you put into words what both this city and this team have meant to you to build that passion? Yeah,
I came here, like when I came here, I came from Toronto, and I honestly came here with a gym bag full of clothes, and that was it. I don't come from a lot of money. I don't come from like that. For me, that was like I just arrived here, and it was like I got to make this work. I was at University of Toronto, and my degree wasn't quite finished, so I wanted to come here and sort of make a name for myself in football. And the place taught me so many things. There were so many good people here when I got here, and I don't mean just like good football players, because we were really good. The team was really good when I got here. but just the way everybody did things, the way Hugh Campbell conducted himself, the way Ron Lancaster conducted himself. I had a offensive line coach here for almost every year I was here named Bill McDermott, and the way he treated people and the way he cared about the people he worked with, and even the teammates. Like, there's a sense of there always was a sense of accountability here to one another, and there was a high level of expectation, not just around playing well, but around the way you conducted yourself and the way you did things. And so those are things that when you're a 23-year-old kid, when you're exposed to them, they change your life a little bit, and they frame the way you see things. And then when I went to do my first teaching job, when I went to do my first administrative job, it was like I took those lessons with me, and the degree of work and the degree of detail and the degree of care that went into what I was experienced here, I carried with me forward. So this place had a tremendous impact on me in the way I learned to conduct my life and the way I learned to interact with other people, and my desire to have an impact wherever I went, which was positive. And I always say to the kids that I coached at U of A for years and years, I said, no matter what you do, if you can go into an organization and help everyone there be better, you are going to be a very valuable commodity. And I've always thought that about my time here with the Elks, or with the Eskimos at the time, was that there were leaders in that room, there were people here that made me a better person, and they made everybody around them better. And that to me was a big part of what I learned here, and one of the things that I want to bring back here.
You've kind of touched on it a little bit with your last answer, but you've won 3 Grey Cups here as a player, 93, 03, and 05. What do you remember about those teams that made them special and helped push them over the edge? Yeah,
it's all those. It's funny because everybody talks about Grey Cups, like it's the journey you go on with a group of men that all want the same thing. And there's a bunch, and it's not always perfect, and there's all kinds of different characters involved, and there's some guys who are like, do everything right, and there's some guys who mess up all the time, but it's that journey you go through with everybody where in the end, everybody collectively can get it all together and accomplish something special together. That's what you learn, is that you just keep working together with people. And then I think of 2005, and we're in the locker room at halftime in the Grey Cup, and it's like we'd been together for so long, that group of people, and it was just like that was the last time we were ever going to play together. And we started talking about that, and we started talking about how, like, there's going to be tons of changes next year. This is our only ever chance to win together. And all those teams had that in common. There were a bunch of guys that all had played together for a while, that all felt strongly about one another. And there were some guys that were new and all that sort of things, but there was a family feel in all those teams. And it was, in the end, when you get to the very end and you're playing against someone else who's really good, that sense of connectivity and family and togetherness, I think, is a huge factor of whether or not you can be successful.
So you have a bit of a unique perspective on this, because there is 10 years in between 93 and 2003. That's longer than the average football career. So what do you remember about the process of overhauling what was a very good team in 1993, and then the years in between to build them up to what 2003 and 2005 was?
Yeah, it's funny because after 93, we were so close. We were close in 94. We were close in. We were always in the Western Final, or we were always right there for many years. And then Coach Lancaster left. And then we had 1 year with Coach Stevenson, and I always liked Kay. I thought Kay was a good coach. We went to the Western Final that year. We didn't quite get it done. But then after that, we entered a period of turmoil. After that, we entered a period of time where there was a lot of turnover here, and there was a lot of things going on. But the one thing I'll give, like Coach Matthews was our coach at that time, Don Matthews, the one thing I'll give him is there was turnover for about a year, and then it was like, okay, these are our guys. This is who we're going to go forward with. And then that team stayed together for the core of that team stayed together for several years after that, and that core had some very talented players. Like, you were talking about, Ed Hervey, Ricky Ray, there's AJ Gass, just some tremendous football players in it. And then as we matured together and got going, it became evident, okay, this is a talented enough team to win with, and then we just had to figure out how to win. And we just got better and better and better. Like the game that still haunts me is that 2002 Grey Cup here, where we lost to Montreal here and they were celebrating on our stage. I'll never forget that game, because I truly felt we were the better team, and I think all of us did. And that was the next 3 years. It was like our mission to sort of show that we thought we were the better team of the two. So it was quite a journey. Those 10 years were a journey, and there was lots to learn. And it's funny, you get to the point after about 6 or 7 of those years where you're like, man, like, is this ever going to happen again? Like, it was so easy the first time I was here 2 years and we won, and we were really good. And then the years go by and you're just so close. I think it teaches you more than anything else how to be, how to persevere through things and how to just keep fighting forward.
So you already mentioned him, but you worked alongside Hugh Campbell, who's a legend in this franchise for your entire time you were here, basically. And then you're now currently holding the position that he once held in this organization. What did you remember about Hugh, about how he conducted himself, and what do you aim to take from his leadership style?
Yeah, I just remember that you just kind of knew you were always dealing with a genuine person. You always knew that, and it was a business, and pro football's a business, and sometimes you don't always get to hear what you want to hear, and sometimes there's conflict and all those different things, and guys get cut, and there's all kinds of things that happen. But I always found with Hugh Campbell that there was a level of professionalism that I don't always see with football professionals. For me, the standard is always Hugh Campbell. And when I watched other people sitting in the general manager chair here and some of the things that were happening and some of the decisions that were happening, I would always judge them against him. Now that's harsh because that's the best that's ever been, right? But to me, that's the standard. And that's the standard that I aspire to be at. I've got a long, long, long way to go, but that's who I would say, if you're gonna try to be like someone in this job, that's the person you emulate. And anything less than that, you're kind of letting everybody down, because that's the standard.
How do you feel you'll handle the change from being both a coach and a player to now holding an executive role? It's not like somebody in the organization makes a mistake, you can't just send them to the bench. No. So how do you think you'll handle that change?
Yeah, it's funny because as a principal of a school, you're dealing with all kinds of people. Like, you're dealing with kids who are like they're just trying to figure things out with their lives. You're dealing with like educational assistants who are kind of the teacher's helpers. You're dealing with the teachers of each department, whether it be math, social studies, science, whatever the case may be. And like, everybody has like unique things they need to see and hear and do to feel all together as a cohesive unit, right? To me, it's very similar. It's just different pieces you're trying to assemble. When you're in leadership, you're trying to get people to do things at the highest possible level they can. And that means you're facilitating their success. So for me, it's not about what I'm gonna do like individually, it's about how I can sort of make people feel better about what they do and how I can put them in a system, an order that they can be successful together. And to me, it's very similar in every organization. People talk about leadership and it's business. It's not different. It's about having people like, my individual success is not meaningful here. It's the individual. It's a collective success, and that means the pods of people working together. How can I put them in a good position to work together and be successful together? And that's leadership in general. And to me, that's the same here as it was in school boards, the same it was when I was coaching. Leadership is leadership, and I don't think there's a big difference between the different settings.
So actually, I wanted to ask you about that time juggling, being both a school teacher and a player. It's a large time commitment, and it requires a lot of dedication. And Dave Jameson was just telling me stories about you rushing in for practice after teaching in the morning. And what was that like as a player / professional? Yeah,
it's funny when I've been very blessed with my life. Everything I've always ever done, I've loved to do. Like, I love to play football. And then I figured out when I was playing football that coaching kids was something I really, really liked to do. So then teaching is an extension of coaching. So for me, getting up to go teach in the morning and help kids and help them be successful and help them learn social studies or whatever case it was. And again, social studies to me is just a vehicle for helping them learn how to reason in a way that's going to allow them to be successful with their lives, right? And that's, to me, it was a lot of fun doing that. So like, for me, going from there to here to practice something else I love to do, like, it didn't seem like a lot of work to me. It's a lot of hours, but to me it was a lot of fun. Like, I enjoyed both those roles. Like, I was the department head of social studies at Lizard while I was still playing here because I like doing it. I thought it was just it was a fun thing to do. So, it's when I retired from here, I became an assistant principal, and it was almost like, well, what do we like? Everybody, it's a lot of work. It's this, that. To me, I have always enjoyed what I do, so there's no really way for me to state it besides that. If you don't see what you're doing as work, then you don't really get worn down because you're just having a good time doing it, right? And that's kind of what my life's been. I've been blessed because that's kind of what my life's been. And this next chapter here is the exact same to me. I'm having all kinds of fun doing this. It's a challenge. There's all kinds of new things happening. I'm excited for figuring out a way to make this place successful, how do I fit into it all? It's an incredible opportunity for me. And I've seen all of my phases that I've gone through the same way.
I mean, you obviously value education. You went to University of Toronto, which was more of an academic school than a football school. I think, in fact, you're still the most recent first-round pick in the CFL draft from the University of Toronto. How did you decide that education was just as important as being a football player?
Yeah, you know, it's funny. I sat in this locker room for 14 years, and you see so many guys come and go, right? And the guys that come and go that don't have some sort of educational background to them have never done as well long term, or have struggled to get going after football way more so than those who did well and came through with a degree. I've always thought of football as a vehicle for people. It's a vehicle for, it's not the NFL where you're making millions of dollars and after you're finished you can sort of just decide what you want to do and you can do anything you want with your life. The CFL is it's a lily pad that guys land on, and it's sinking from the minute they land on it, but they get a chance to at least look around and figure, okay, where am I going to go from here, right? And for me, when I took over at the university, the thought of a kid leaving my program without his degree, thinking that he was going to go to play football and that was going to look after him, that would be neglect on my part to let someone leave that program thinking that way. So right from the moment, right from when I'm recruiting guys, I would say, look, football is not going to look after you long term. Football is a great thing, and it's going to teach you this, and it's going to teach you this, and all the wonderful things it can teach you, but the reality is it's going to spit you out at some point in time. So my job is to make sure, as much as you love football, I'm going to use that to make sure you graduate with a degree from here. And then you're going to have a degree from the University of Alberta, which is one of the best academic institutions in the world. So no matter what football does with you, you're going to be able to be successful and you'll have a high quality of life and all those things going forward. So to me, it's always been like, I look at people who see university football in Canada and all I can see is whether you win or lose, and all I can see is like, those people to me just don't really get it. They don't really understand what university football in Canada is. There is no pot of gold at the end of the rainbow for university football in Canada. There's very few kids who ever go down to the NFL from here. The NFL is a life-changing experience just from the money you get. Most guys are going to come to the CFL, the really, really good ones, and then it's going to buy them some time to do something different with their lives. But football's not a destination in Canada. It's a part of your journey, and I think sometimes people lose sight of that. They think that it's, well, you should be, that the priority of Canadian sport should be to win at all costs. And to me, that's not at all the way I see it.
Edmonton has a bit of a history with players and education. There's yourself becoming a principal, Hector Pache becoming a principal, the great Johnny Bright as well in the city. What did you learn from your days playing football that helped make you a good educator?
Yeah, I think you figure out when you're playing football that you kind of like working with other people. And I think a good teacher works with the staff and works with the kids. You're working with the kids in your classroom. I think that's a big part of being a teacher, right? And I learned that I really like to coach. Like when I started playing here and I used to do the high school development camps and we used to run all these different initiatives here as a player, I really enjoyed helping young people get better at what they were doing, whether it be coaching offensive line or coaching whatever it is skill you're trying to get across. I took a great deal of satisfaction, and it was very gratifying for me to see someone improve and the smile on their face and how much they enjoyed getting better. And to me, that's what teaching is. You go into a classroom and there's nothing better than going into a classroom with kids who haven't been successful in the classroom before and figuring out a way to break things down to make it so it's fun for them, so that they learn. And next thing you know, they know all the levels and the branches of government, and they know how they work. And it's just like, they're like, holy cow, how did this guy trick me? I know all this stuff now. And it's like those are huge moments to me. You're helping people and you're helping them sort of figure out how to learn and how to be. Learning's the key to life, right? Like once somebody figures out that, okay, if I just relax and just figure out how to learn what I'm being taught here, whether it be football, whether it be school, whatever area, you're probably going to have a successful life. Because if you can sit down and learn from other people's mistakes and learn what you need to do in any given task, you're going to be a valuable commodity. So I always thought that was a great responsibility as a teacher. And I think I learned being a coach when I was here, and then I carried that forward being a teacher when I went into the classroom.
All right, with my final question, I'm going to direct it a little bit back towards the organization. When this is all said and done, how will you judge this as a successful tenure as the Elks president and CEO? Yeah,
if I'm successful in my role here, the community will be served by this football club. The community will be served. So we will be active in the community, and we will reach out to them, and we will do things that benefit the city of Edmonton and Northern Alberta. And through that involvement, we will have people understand that this is a place where they want to be and that they want to support. And then we'll build a product on the field that is something people can be proud of and that they want to support. And through that level of excellence on the field, we'll be an exemplar for the community as to how to do things. That is, for me, the ultimate goal. We want this place to represent excellence again. And excellence playing football obviously is the number one thing we want to be excellent at, but there's a million other ways that this club can serve this community and do it at a very, very high level and be an exemplar for everyone around. And to me as the president, if at the end of my tenure, people have a great deal of respect for what the Edmonton Elks do in our community, people have a great deal of respect for the way we approach people in the community and the way we play this game, we play it the right way, then I'll be very, very happy with my time here.
Thank you very much for your time, Chris.
Yeah.
That was excellent.
Thank you.